Hello, class. I welcome you to this session. We are in the start of a new ratio called as activity ratio. Now, there are various activities related to the business. Say, for example, your purchase of inventory. You have the collection of debts in terms of from the debtors. You have payment to the suppliers. You have the finding the working capital, how much cash is needed to run the office in the day to day activity. So you have all these activities that need to be done. Those are called as what? They are called as activity. So those activity related ratio are called as activity ratio. It generally talks about the performance turnover ratio. It measures how well the resources has been utilized. What is the resources? It is basically finance. Finance is thereby converted to various forms of other goods. We do not know how many types of goods it can be. Since it is related to the activity, maybe we will take it as stock. We can take it as payment to suppliers. So resources of the organization has been used by the enterprise. How it is used, it addresses that answer. It expressed in number of times. Now, profitability ratio was expressed in percentage, but this ratio, we will, whatever is the number that arrives, say for example we get 2 as our answer, we will write 2 times. I'm sure that you are able to understand. Higher turnover ratio means better use of capital or the resources. It means thereby leading to profitability. So this is the gist of what we have to know about this activity ratio. It is otherwise called as performance or turnover ratio. Now there are 4 activity ratio that you need to concentrate at your level. First one is inventory turnover ratio. Second one is trade receivables. Third, trade payables. And fourth is working capital turnover ratio. So you have, what is this inventory? You need to keep this in mind. Inventory turnover ratio, trade receivables, trade payables, working capital turnover ratio. So inventory turnover ratio is nothing but cost of goods sold divided by average inventory. Now, what is cost of goods sold? We know that sales minus gross profit will give you cost of goods sold, or sales plus gross loss will also give you cost of goods sold. There are other way to represent cost of goods sold which we have studied in our previous operating ratios. I'm sure that you are able to remember what are the other ways of calculating cost of goods sold. You should be thorough with those aspects before you move on to the inventory turnover ratio, because inventory turnover ratio and your profitability ratio are, while solving the sums, the questions will be like, they will ask inventory turnover ratio giving the information of operating profit ratio or operating ratio for that matter. Okay, so you need to be thorough with those ratios as well. So cost of goods sold, as you remember, we have this formula: opening stock plus purchases plus direct expenses minus closing stock will give you cost of goods sold. So these are the various things that you need to remember for calculating cost of goods sold. Now what is average inventory? Average inventory, as you can see that inventory, average of inventory will be opening stock plus closing stock divided by 2. So this will be the average inventory. Okay, inventory is nothing but stock. So why we are doing this? See, before going to Y, change in, you have to add if the change in inventory is in opening is more than the closing. So when the opening is more than closing, you need to add. Opening is more than closing, add. Closing is more than opening, you need to deduct. Okay, so closing is more than, please remember this, please remember, have a pictorial representation of what we have done. Opening, closing, more than, closing, opening, you need to less. So I'll tell you when we are working out the problem why we are doing this. Okay, so for now you don't bother about it, you just have registered into your mind that what we are trying to say. Why to prepare? To measure the number of times an enterprise sells and replaces its inventory. Sells and replaces its inventory. See, when the inventory goes out of the organization and cash comes in, when inventory is frequently flowing out of the organization, what happens is that, and cash comes into the organization, we are assuming that once inventory flows out, after a point of time, the cash comes into the organization. What happens is the profitability will be more. The more number of times it happens, the more profits the company can generate. So that is the reason, to measure number of times an enterprise sells and replaces its inventory. So if you sell again, you will get cash, again you will purchase from your suppliers, again sell, again get cash. So it's like a cycle where you will be able to analyze how many times this happens. To check whether only required amount of funds are invested in the stock. This is very, very important, because if you have to know what is the correct amount of stock that you need to store. If you have ordered more stock, more inventory than needed, what happens is it increases your carrying cost. This and all you will be learning when you are coming to the higher level in cost accounting and all. So what happens is that carrying cost is nothing but, over a period of time you need to store this inventory. So carrying cost is otherwise called as storage cost. So carrying cost is otherwise called as storage cost. So when you are storing the inventory, say for example you have to rent a godown, or the inventory stored after a point of time may get decomposed, deteriorate, maybe you have to sell it in scrap, you do not have market for it. So all those problems are being raised just because when the inventory is morely, you have invested too much into stock. If you have invested too much into stock, these are the disadvantages that can arise. So obviously you don't want that, because you are operating in a very competitive environment. Your profits are very important, your cost is very important, because selling price minus cost price will be your profits. So cost price is very, very important. Okay, so coming to analysis. A high ratio, more sales for a rupee of investment in stock. So for 1 rupee investment in the stock, how much is the sales that you have got? So higher ratio is better. Lower ratio is less sales as produced by a rupee of investment in stock. So when we are doing the sums, we will be able to understand. But as of now, you just remember higher ratio is better, lower ratio is not better. So low sales, lower ratio is that your stock is not moving out. Stock is not moving out. Thereby what happens? There is a problem of cash coming in. So stock is not moving out, cash does not come in, so there is a problem in the business. Now, very high ratio means over trading. What do you mean by over trading? Sometimes over trading can also be not good for the business, because you have the working capital shortage that can arise. Over trading is that you need to invest too much money into stock, but at the same time the stock goes out. But what happens is that you have shortage of working capital that can be detrimental to the business. So optimum is you have to have everything a balance. Okay, you need to have, even in life you need to have balance. You cannot be too serious, at the same time to lethargic. You should have that balance in your life. Similarly, in stock also, when you're purchasing, there should be a balance in whatever you're trying to do. So it ensures the adequacy of working capital and also ensures more profits. So that is the simple reason. So coming to the activity ratio, the first ratio that we have discussed is inventory turnover ratio, which is nothing but cost of goods sold divided by average inventory. Okay, the next ratio is trade receivables turnover ratio. Now, trade receivables, what do you mean by it? Is directly related to your debtors? It is directly related to your debtors and bills receivables. So, when do you call something as a it is trade receivables? When do you call something as a trade receivables? When you have credit sales. When you have done credit sales and you are expecting money to be received from your debtors, then it is called as a trade receivables. So trade receivables are debtors plus bills receivable is called as trade receivables. Okay, so trade receivables, the formula is net credit sales. As I told you, it is related with sales. Net credit sales divided by average trade receivables. Now, why we need to prepare this? To calculate the number of days for which the sales are tied up in trade receivables. Now, you need to know how fast we are receiving money, receiving cash from this, credit sales people, from debtors, from bills receivable, how fast we are collecting money. If money is collected fast, obviously you can reinvest it. Once you are reinvested, again you sell it. Again, there is a profit immediately flowing into the business. So more times the profit flows, obviously your business will grow. The more times cash flows, more times if the cash is flowing higher, what happens? Your business grows at a faster pace. So obviously more cash flows into the business grows at a faster state. So that is the reason. So to calculate the number of days, you need to know how many days generally it takes to actually collect this money from which sales are tied up in the trade receivables, and not to ascertain the realizable value of debtors. Now what is this? Not to ascertain. So we are not trying to find out whether the debtors is going to give the money or not. That is not our problem. Our problem is we have given so much time. Within this time, we are estimating the cash would come. So we are not bothered about the provision for doubtful debts is not deducted from the trade receivables. So this should be key. Okay, so provision for doubtful debts is not deducted from the trade receivables to calculate. What we are to find is the number of days, how much particular sales money will be flowing to the business. So that number of days is very key to the business, because the entire planning of thing is affected, because it tied up to the sales, the revenue of the organization. That's why. The next one, it shows how fast the trade receivables are converted into cash. That's what I'm trying to say. How fast trade receivables are converted into cash, thus shows efficiency in collection of amount against trade receivables. So the analysis part is high ratio, debts are collected promptly. Low ratio, it shows inefficiency in collection, and more investment in debtors will lead to cash profits are delayed. See, more investment into more number of debtors get accumulated. What happens? Your cash profits are getting delayed. Obviously, if your cash profits are delayed, the growth of the business get hampered. It is not proper. The growth is negative. I'm sure that you are able to understand. There's something called as debt collection period. When we are doing problems, we will be understanding this. As of now, you just have to note it down. I'll be sharing the notes also with you so that you can note it down. Okay. The next one is trade payables turnover ratio. What is trade payables turnover ratio? See, what is trade payables? First of all, the creditors plus bills payable is called as trade payables. So creditors plus bills payable is called as the trade payables. The amount payable for purchases made for from suppliers. The amount payable for purchases made from suppliers. We know that what is trade payables. It is payments made to the suppliers who are supplying goods to us. Okay. So what is the formula? Trade payables turnover ratio. See, don't use abbreviations. Don't use short forms when you are writing in the classwork or when you are writing for an exam. So I have used it. Please, you do not use it. Okay. So trade payables turnover ratio is equal to net credit purchases divided by average trade payables. Net credit purchases divided by average trade payables. Now, why do we have to see last ratio was trade receivables ratio? It is net credit sales divided by average trade receivables. Here trade payables, net credit purchases divided by average trade payables. It is easy to remember that way when you connect and learn. Why? To know the number of times the creditors are to be paid over a period of time. Number of times creditors need to be paid over a period of time. So this is the reason. How much time, within how much time we need to pay our creditor? Is it often? Is it once in a while? Is it balanced form? We need to understand that. So analysis part, high ratio short payment period, which means less credit time given to us. This is important. If the organization is being given less credit time, our cash is going out to the supplier frequently, which means it is not good to the business. So sometimes it is seen as this way also. It boosts the creditworthiness of the enterprise, but my personal opinion is that there should be a balance. Okay, too much, because we cannot be paying regularly to the supplier within a very short period of time. Say for example, last week only we made the payment, this week we should not be making payment. It should be once in 30 days or 45 days, but we should keep balance. We should pay them promptly, but in a clubbed manner, not frequently. Okay, then low ratio indicates a longer period, which means higher credit period given. But on the other flip side, what happens is that sometimes we do not pay them also, then also it leads as low ratio. We are supposed to pay, but we are not paid. If it is coming from the supplier's side, say for example, ma'am or sir, you can give us, you can pay us by 60 days time. If they say, that's okay. But if they say that you need to pay by within 30 days and we take 60 days to pay that is not good. So increase credit period given. If it is given, well and good. If it is not given, then we are not paying, it is not good. Moving forward to the next ratio, last ratio, working capital turnover ratio. Working capital, as you all know, it is current asset minus current liability. What is the formula? Revenue from operations divided by working capital. Or see, based on the availability of the information given in the question, we need to use either sales or cost of goods sold. There is difference between sales and cost of goods sold. Sales minus gross profit will give you cost of goods sold. So if the problem says given only sales, you use this formula. If the problem is given as cost of goods sold, then use this formula. Okay, so revenue from operations divided by working capital or cost of goods sold divided by working capital. Why do we prepare this? To know the number of times the unit of rupee invested in working capital produces sales. So when you're investing rupee 1, if it produces 2 rupees of sales, then it is a good condition. If you are investing rupee 1, it produces only 0.5, then this is not a good position. So it tries to tell us number of times a unit of rupee invested in working capital produces sales. So number of times, okay, this how many times it happens. If it is happening 3 times, 4 times, 2 rupees extra is given to you. So it is a good transaction. Suppose for example, 1 rupee you invest and it gives you only one time 0.5, then it is a bad investment. So your working capital will be in a very bad situation. The next one is to know whether investment in working capital has been effectively used in generating revenue. This is very important, effectively used in generating revenue, because every capital that is invested has its cost. So you cannot use capital where you do not have cost. Okay, equity, you need to pay dividend. Debentures, you need to pay interest. If you get a loan from the bank, you need to pay interest. So every capital that you're using for working capital has a cost. Not only for working capital, generally it has a cost, but working capital, it has even more cost, because short duration, short time returns is to be paid off. So you have to be very, very rational when you're thinking with working capital. So analysis part, higher ratio is better. Very high ratio means over trading. So this is not good generally. A high ratio, a decent amount of ratio is good. Okay, so I'm sure that you're able to understand this. Go through the formulas one more time. We will be doing problems related to return on investment, your profitability ratio, remember, and also the activity ratio problems will be the next video. Thank you, class.